Hello, Dr. Brant Hulsebus here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Ask the Chiropractor is my little podcast that I do. When someone has a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, I try to answer. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. I'm a proud graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I'm happy to be the team chiropractor of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Let's dive into it. Hello, and thank you for joining me now on episode 7. If you're just joining us, we're doing a 12-series thing about chiropractic, like 101, and the basics of wellness-based chiropractor and why people see a chiropractor in different times and different reasons. Last time we talked about what happens when you're pregnant and why going to see a chiropractor when you're pregnant. So the follow-up of that naturally would be, once the baby's here, now what? Do we take the baby to a chiropractor? Why do people take their babies to a chiropractor, right? The baby's obviously not walking yet or moving around anything. How could they possibly hurt themselves? And then what about children? I've been at the chiropractor before and I've seen kids there. Why in the world are kids there? Let's talk about those things today. So I'm here in Rockford, Illinois, and this clinic has been here since 1978. Family practice has been here since 1948, 1949. And our family practice, from my grandfather to my dad to me, we've always had tons of kids come in and get adjusted. It's always been very important to us to see children. We want the children to grow up right. We want the children to grow up straight. So we've taken care of kids forever. I was born in Davenport, Iowa. My father was finishing chiropractic college at the time. The day I came home from the hospital, I went to Palmer College with my mother and my dad, and I went to Dr. Strang, S-T-R-A-N-G. And he was a teacher at that time for newborns and pediatrics, and he gave me my first chiropractic adjustment right there on campus in front of the whole class. My Uncle Roger was born in Davenport, Iowa, by my grandmother, and B.J. Palmer himself was there. So in my family, you get checked the moment you're born. I checked my daughter Caroline the fastest. She had the most natural and normal birth, and I checked her when she was less than 5 minutes old. What are we doing at that age? Why are we checking kids at that point? And can every chiropractor do this? As chiropractors, we go through chiropractic college, we're taking a course on pediatrics. And we're getting a good sample of pediatrics when you go through school. And if you're at school, you want to learn more about pediatrics, it's good to have a pediatric kid to take care of. And I mentioned before that when I was at chiropractic school, my sister-in-law was pregnant. She gave birth when I was there too. And my stepbrother's son was able to come in. I was able to get him adjusted at school with the teachers. So I got a little bonus education because I had that patient. But I talked about an injury I had where I had to have a massive elbow surgery and I was out of commission for a while. And my surgeon said, go back to school. So I went back to school to study pediatrics and pregnancy. I talked a lot about pregnancy last week. If you didn't catch it, go back, take a listen to it. But today I'm going to talk about the kids because I did a whole year course on taking care of kids. And if you want to see a chiropractor that does this, all you got to do is call the office and say, does your chiropractor take care of children? Some of us learn by doing, some of us learn by classes, and some of us learn because we just read at schools. Some chiropractors I know don't want to take care of kids. They don't do that. So just call the clinic and ask. Now, if you're in Rockford, Illinois, come over and see us. We love to see kids. Our clinic's designed for it. We got multiple rooms with coloring sheets and toys in there so the kids can feel comfortable where they are. And we have a lot of fun games and tricks we do with the kids. I know my grandfather would lay on the table and he'd always pull a little magic ball from behind your ear and like, whoa, where'd that come from? Next thing, boom, I got my adjustment. So we have lots of cool things that we do here to keep the kids so they're happy and take care of them. We're very experienced at it. So if you're in Rockford, Illinois, stop in. If you're in other parts of the country, like I said, just call the chiropractic clinic and ask them. But let's talk about why we see children. The first thing is we check newborns. Today, when a newborn's born in the hospital, there could be a lot of pulling and yanking. The baby's breech, there's any kind of complications, even more so. And if the baby's born, I just had one come in the other week, they said he was born sunny side up. So he wasn't breech, but he was flipped. And it was a neat case. When he laid his back, he'd arch his back and get really fussy, cranky, and throw his arms and really colicky and angry. And we laid him down, and I was able to examine him, and I was able to figure out his neck was out. I adjusted him, and he laid flat. Totally one clone. It was really cool. So we check newborns a lot. And if you think you had a cesarean, C-section, you don't have to worry about it. No, there's twice as much pulling with that, twice as much. So what do we check on newborns? I would say 95% of the time we check the top 2 bones of their neck and we check their hips. And now, how do we do that? Because with an adult, I watch to see how you walk. Newborns don't walk. They don't even crawl yet. So how do we do it? We're trained to do special testing on newborns to be able to find the problem. We might hold the baby in a certain position to see how they react. Because let's say the bone in the neck has shifted up and to the left. Well, if it shifted up to the left and I put the baby in a different gravity field, that's discomfort. So the baby will turn its head and get away from it. I knew exactly what was wrong with that baby. It was arching its back because the baby was uncomfortable because it was being pulled on from the back of the skull. So I did a little adjustment back there and the baby got to relax and everything fell into place. Baby fell down good and happy baby. Happy baby, happy mommy, happy daddy. So that's what we did. We adjusted that little one and we got him right back. Really cool. It was a lot of fun. Now, do I climb on top of the baby, twist them, and adjust them like an ice hog? No, not at all. We use various light touch techniques to adjust them. Very light, very passive. Matter of fact, if mom or dad have a question about the force that I use, I'll usually mimic the adjustment of the palm of their hand so they can feel what I'm doing to their baby. So the neck adjustments, there's no twisting, there's no snapping, there's nothing like that. It's totally different. A lot of those bones in the neck are still forming. So we don't want to do too much adjusting to them until they take shape and get finished maturing. Let's talk about the pelvic then, the other part, right? When you look at a baby, the head comes through, the mom, the shoulders make it through. What's the next white part? The pelvis, the hips. And a lot of times those hips can bend and twist a little bit. And we can easily tell this by moving the baby's legs around and doing a couple little things. We can find which hip is in and which hip is out. And then we do the exact same thing I talked about in the neck. We just take our finger, we put a little pressure, and we'll feel the adjustment happen. A lot of times I'll actually adjust them while mom's holding them. It's that scary. So we do the adjustment and we get instant relief. Now, what are the 3 main reasons I tell people to bring a newborn into me? They're not sleeping. They're colicky. Or they're not having bowels. You see, when they don't have bowels, that tells me it's the lower back and hips are off. Because we talked a lot about before in the first episode about what a subluxation is. 1 or 2 bones are misaligned, creating stress, and that stress travels that nerve. And those nerves not only go to muscles and skin, but they also, and reflexes, but they also go to organs. And the nerves are required to empty the bowels are found in that area. And there's a subluxation there. A lot of times the little babies have a hard time. They get really bad constipated. And they get really upset. And we set up that little hip, we do that little hip adjustment, and we know what's going to happen. It's usually there's a dirty diaper before mom and dad leave the clinic. We know what's going to happen. Matter of fact, one of my children were born, and to keep this with dignity, I won't say which one. They were born early, and they gave my daughter some dairy, and my kids never did well with dairy, and they told me she had a bowel in 24 hours at the NICU. So I told my wife, she looked at me, she goes, oh no. I adjusted her hip. And I said, let's go have some lunch. We came back and they were cleaning out the isolette because I got that to work. I got to work really good. Matter of fact, I was so good at that and it was so predictable that after we had checked out of the NICU with our twins, that several nurses had called me back to take a look at other babies that were having this problem. It was pretty cool. Of course, I didn't do anything without mom or dad's blessing. Don't worry, don't call the police on me. But we were able to do that. Now, we adjust the neck area, that's for the colic. That's sometimes babies have headaches, they can't tell you. Or they have pressure in their neck and development, so we adjust the upper neck area, the colic and the sleeping gets better right away. So I tell mom, baby's not sleeping, baby's colicky, or baby's not pooping, you let them see me. The other thing I tell moms is if you ever go to the pediatrician, like what the pediatrician said, come on over, ask me the same question. I might give you a different spin on it. From there, we check them out as they grow. We don't see them 3 times a week for 3 to 4 weeks. We don't do that with newborns. But as they grow and they go through different milestones, we check their spines. We see how they're growing, how they're maturing. We're keeping an eye on them, make sure they grow and mature the proper way. There's different milestones along the way. We want to analyze their spine and see how they're lining up. And they go from crawling to walking. Great time to get them in. Actually, when they start crawling, bring them in. When they start walking, bring them in. We want to watch their gait. Why develop a bad habit and fix it? Let's take care of it before it's bad. When they're high school and they're playing sports, boy, we take care of a lot of them. The coordination and stuff like that, so vital to help them out. And not only that, but growing up, it's stressful. Middle school is a stressful time of life, right? And it gets chemical, physical, and emotional stress. We always talk about causes your back to go out. Physical is easy. They play sports, they get knocked down, their back goes out. Chemical, they're eating junk food. A lot of these kids don't get good quality food. They like the garbage stuff. And lastly, just the emotional stress. I think we all remember what it was like to go through puberty in middle school. Horrible, stressful time for us, right? And it beats us up and makes us bad. So these kids sometimes need to get a little extra attention. So there you have it. Why do we take care of pediatrics? Why do we take care of kids? Those are some of the reasons. The birthing process, the growing process, the developing process. And then lastly, as they get a little older, the stress the kids are under. So if you've ever thought about taking your child to a chiropractor to see a chiropractor, great idea. We've helped kids get better with ADHD, attention deficits. We've helped kids with mental stress. We've helped kids with bedwetting. We've helped kids with asthma. We've helped kids with, you can just keep going on and on. Now, chiropractic doesn't cure any of those things, and chiropractic doesn't treat any of those things. But by getting rid of the subluxation, the body can process things better, and those things tend to go away on their own. The stress that brought them on, we remove that stress and the body heals and takes care of itself. Speaking of stress, maybe we should talk a little bit more about that next week and what stress does to your spine. Why don't you come back next week and we'll talk a little bit about stress and the physics of stress in episode 8. Till then, if you're in Rockford, Illinois, you got a question about pediatric chiropractic, stop by. Otherwise, go and leave a message or a comment wherever you're watching or listening to this. I'll see it. And remember, like I always say, if you have a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, the only person qualified to answer that question is a chiropractor. So make sure you find one and ask them. Thank you.